Investigators who are looking into that crash on the CTA's Yellow Line, and they are about to begin a news conference.
Yeah, we've just been waiting for the NTSB to get to the podium in that press conference, and I know our team is trying to dial up that shot so we could hear what the initial impressions are. Let's listen in.
Tough incident, any of these, to go through. So you are on our hearts, in our thoughts, as we proceed with this investigation throughout the course of the investigation and in the years to come as we pursue implementation of safety recommendations that may come out of this. We are here with 14 personnel. We have 7 investigators with us, and we have 1 professional from our Transportation Disaster Assistance team. They provide family assistance. What they do is they visit victims in the hospital, they contact them, and they provide them information on the resources that are available for them through the Red Cross. And I do want to take a moment and thank the American Red Cross for their partnership. Our family assistance team is with those families throughout the course of our investigation, including through the board meeting at the end of the investigation and issuance of the final report. We always make sure that they have information. I don't have a lot of investigative information to share with you today. This is our first day on scene. We all arrived at various times last night. What I can do is tell you what we did today. We began our morning with an organizational meeting, and I'll go through some of the specifics on what we did in that meeting. And then we designated parties to our investigation. So I want to talk about what parties mean. Parties to our investigation are entities that can provide factual information to us that helps us later analyze the investigation and issue findings, the probable cause, and the safety recommendations. So these are people who can provide us with facts. They are only part of the fact-finding course of the investigation. They are never part of analysis. We are an independent entity, and we do that alone. So the parties to our investigation are CTA, Federal Transit Administration, Illinois Department of Transportation, the Machinists Union District 8, and the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 308. One great advantage, other than us getting the factual information from what we call the party system, is that entities who are part of our fact-finding get investigative information so they can make safety change immediately. They don't have to wait for the issuance of our final report. Now, in addition to designating the parties to our investigation, we formed investigative groups where each of our investigators will lead a group focused on a certain portion of the investigation. So we have one group who's focused on the crashworthiness of the rail cars. They're also focused on survival factors. So what they're looking at is how do we prevent injuries and fatalities in the future? We have a group focused on track. They're looking at track conditions. They're looking at track markings, evidence of braking, and other portions of the track that they may pick up. In addition, we have a group focused on signals. They're focused on getting certain recorders and data logs from the wayside detectors and looking at the signal systems. We have a group that's focused on operations. That group will get the event recorder, and they will look at the inward and outward facing cameras. They will get all communications, radio, any tower communications, any phone communications. Now, before anyone asks, because I will be asked, we have not yet reviewed the event recorders or the inward and outward facing cameras. We will do that shortly. Right now, today was about collecting what we could and documenting the scene, which I'll go over again in a second. And then finally we have a mechanical group that's focused on all the equipment, brake systems and the like. Now, I mentioned that what we spend our day on is really documenting the scene. So our team wants to see everything as it was, take pictures that will help determine what additional information they may need. And eventually, once that documentation occurs, we can move the rail cars and the equipment to a secure storage location that CTA owns. So we can do additional documentation and analysis in that storage facility. But right now, it's really about looking at the scene as it stood after the event. On scene, we will not be doing any analysis. We are only here to get the facts. We're here to get the perishable evidence. That's the evidence that goes away once they reopen the line and clean everything up. So we need to get all of that here on scene. The analysis, the documentation like training programs, fatigue, or when someone was employed, that all can be done later from the location of our investigators. Now, we expect to be on scene for about 5 days. We are diligently working through photographing the scene, and I know there are probably some interested in when will the line reopen. We can't give you a time frame on that. We are hoping it is within the 5 days and less than that. But I can't give you an exact time yet because we want to give our folks time to document the scene. In a couple of weeks, we will issue a preliminary report. That preliminary report will only contain the factual information. It will not include analysis. That is about 12 to 18 months down the road. When we do investigations, they are incredibly comprehensive. And it includes a lot of factual information. So I do want to assure you, though, that throughout the investigation in our party system, CTA, for example, will get information on safety issues we uncover so they can make immediate change. In addition to that, we never hesitate to issue urgent safety recommendations at any time if we feel there's some sort of urgent safety issue that we need to weigh in on, whether it's something related to CTA or something that's more systemic that we want to address. For updates, please keep an eye on ntsb.gov and all our social media. And with that, I am going to take questions. And if you could raise your hand, give your name and affiliation, that would be helpful. Yes?
Stephanie Wade with ABC7. We heard about just under 2 hours prior to the crash that there was a warning that CTA said, hey, watch out, there's personnel on the tracks. Was this about the snowplow or was this something not related?
We don't know that yet. That is information that we always ask for on who was around the track, what was around the track. That's documentation we always ask for as part of the investigation. In addition to that, we will start scheduling witness interviews, including employee interviews and company interviews, and that will help determine what was going on. But part of what our investigators do is a timeline of events before the incident and after, so they can understand what happened.
So can you confirm that there was, I'm sorry, Eric Hong with ABC7, can you confirm there was some sort of advisory less than 2 hours to the train operators to be on the lookout for people on the track?
The question is, can I confirm that there were maintenance personnel before the track and some warning went out? I cannot. We don't know that. That is something that we will determine throughout the investigation. Steve.
Steve Miller, WBBM Radio. What is, and I know you're just coming into this obviously, but what is the single most important question you'd like to have answered first?
There is, what is the single most important question? There isn't one. We have lots of questions and we never focus on one. I can't give you one.
But coming to this, into this with a clear eye.
Okay, so coming into this with a clear eye, what is the biggest question I have is, what do we need to do to prevent this from reoccurring? Never ever do we want to see anyone injured or fatalities. I mean, this was very serious. I was on scene today. It is very serious. There were children on board. There were lots of folks, various age ranges. We never want to see a tragedy like this occur, but what we want to do is figure out how to prevent that from happening again, prevent injuries, prevent fatalities. So my biggest question is, what will do that? Yes?
Vermont Terry with CTA Institute Chicago. We know that Metra and even the city of Denver has what they call the positive train control. Does the CTA use that? And at this point, do you believe that it's essential that they get on board and possibly implement that now?
Great question on positive train control. That's one thing that we will be looking at. We have recommended in a prior investigation that CTA install train control technology, but that was in a previous investigation going back to 2014. That may not be a factor in this investigation. So we don't know that yet, but it's something we're going to be looking at as part of this investigation.
So currently they do not use it.
They don't have positive train control. They have something called automatic train control. So,
What is automatic?
do you want to answer?
ATC automatic train control is a system that attempts to control speed of trains to avoid train-to-train accidents, to control speed of trains into work areas, those kinds of things. But positive train control is much more comprehensive, where there are actual adjustments in speed if the reaction of engineers are not proper, that type of a thing. So it's sort of on the way, but it's not a complete PTC system. So
Thank you.
that helps.
Thank you. Yes?
Courtney says, NBC5. I was wondering, can you confirm that it was a piece of snow removal equipment and why that might be on the track during a very nice week in Chicago?
Can I confirm that it was a piece of snow removal equipment and provide why it was on the track? I can confirm that it is snow removal equipment. I cannot state at this time why it was there. That is information that we are asking CTA for, and we'll be asking others in interviews as well. Yes?
Jake Sheridan from the Chicago Tribune. What have you heard from the CTA's leader, Dorvell Carter, and other CTA officials so far?
The question is, what have I heard from the president of CTA and other officials? The president and many staff of CTA was at our organizational meeting. He is aware of the previous investigations involving CTA. He was at the Federal Transit Administration during many of those, and so he is very familiar with the NTSB's investigative process. And they have been very cooperative, and we appreciate that. Yes?
Violet Miller, Chicago Sun-Times. Do we know how fast the train was going and if the snow removal equipment had been moving at the time of the crash?
The question is the speed of the train and whether the snow removal equipment was moving at the time of the crash. Again, that's something we're going to have to look at. Part of that is looking at event recorders, and so we'll have more information on that as we go along. I would hope to have some of that within the next few days. Thank you. Yes.
Has there been anything as of today that you have recommended the CTA do immediately in light of you going to the scene? You said obviously in the course of your investigation you would let them know, but as of today, have you told the CTA to do something specifically that they did not do yesterday?
The question is, have we asked CTA to do anything, issued them a safety recommendation or any sort of safety deficiency that we may have flagged? The answer is not yet. not at this time. But again, it's really early in the investigation. And right now, we are very focused on just documenting the scene and beginning the process of, okay, what equipment do we need, and what documentation do we need? And very important is immediately scheduling the witness interviews. So it's really focused on documenting the scene, getting what we can now, and focused on the interviews. We have not conducted any interviews yet.
Do you know if anyone was actually on that snowplow apparatus?
Do we know if anyone was on that snowplow?
Yeah, well, there was a crew on the plow.
How many?
Not sure exactly. There was a crew on the snowplow equipment. How many and where they were, what positions, that sort of thing, we're
Yeah.
still looking into.
That's right.
As it relates to the hours.
You've been listening to the chairwoman of the NTSB conducting the news conference on the Yellow Line, the CTA's Yellow Line crash. Yesterday, she says she and 14 federal colleagues are in Chicago right now, including 7 investigators, and they're providing family assistance. Not a lot of investigative information, she said, was forthcoming today. She said they expect to be in town about 5 weeks and have a preliminary report in about 14 days.
And that report will be faxed, so all of the questions that reporters and many of you and certainly victims are asking what happened, why, we should know that information once that report comes out.